Yes, there's holy war in Islam. It's jihad. This may be a surprise to many who grew up in the West, especially those who were born or grew up post 9/11, because of the growing number of the munafiqeen who are spreading the American Zionist Islam. And it has nothing to do with Islam. That version of Islam is an Islam that suits the enemies. The one who's been spreading that there's no holy war in Islam has been defecating zandaqa out of his mouth for the past 20 years, downplaying the legislation of Allah and the hudud. The Muslims in the West, especially the youth in the West, especially the youth in America, need to wake up. The current events are a wake-up call for Muslims to start normalizing mentioning jihad's proper meaning and putting it back into their vocabulary. Jihad must be a common, normal term on the tongues and on your social media and in the masajid and elsewhere. It's time the mothers nurse their infants with the love of jihad and the ambition of wanting to become a mujahid and a shaheed. It's about time the youth brag about the teachings of jihad that are in the Quran and in the Sunnah and in the Seerah. Biden's a terrorist. You've seen that senile Fir'aun of our time. He lost his mind of everything except his loyalty and support to the Yahudi occupiers. The U.S. is more to blame for the genocide in Palestine than the occupying Yahud. Netanyahu is no more than a dog for Biden, just like the Arab leaders are dogs for Netanyahu. Leaders who brought the filthy tarfih, the entertainments and concerts into Bilad al-Haramain while the people of Gaza were being massacred. They replaced the Sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and beloyed the enemies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave permission for those transgressed and to defend themselves. They don't need the permission of any filthy ruler in the UAE or the filthy rulers in Bilad al-Haramain. It's about time the Muslims, especially the youth in the West, it's time for them to understand what should already be known, that the Kafir West, particularly the US, are enemies of Muslims. America is a vicious enemy of Muslims. I strongly advocated and showed proof for the boycotts. And I still do. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reward those who call for it. But they're not the solution. If you can't raise your child telling him you want him to grow up to be a mujahid and a shaheed, then you're the root of the problem. Rawafid don't ever bring victory to Muslims. If there's any treacherous traitor worse than the Yahud, it would be the Rawafid. There's no Palestine with the state borders of 1967. That's the tone of the defeatist and surrenderists. Every millimeter of Palestine must be governed by the Sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.